These two helicopters are similar to what I used to deal with when I was in the Air Force 30 odd years ago at Fairburn. The Iroquois were on the base well, they were still 5 Squadron at that time, but they moved on to the Army. And the Squirrels, which I did a lot of my flying in the Squirrels, only because the Iroquois during my stint there relocated up to Oki. Some great stories. I'm going to post some videos, not videos, but some other, well, yeah, YouTube videos later of some stories about them. There's some great ones. Now the A4 Skyhawk and the Hawker Hunter in this one here. The Hawker Hunter, when I was living in Changi as a kid back in the early 70s, got to see them a bit when I was what was RAF Changi back at the time. I used to walk down as like a 7 or 8 year old kid through the golf course from where I was staying to the Air Force Base there, and every so often I'd see the Hawker Hunters performing, mainly for the odd air show that they had there at the time. Don't remember ever seeing any Skyhawks back in those days. If I did, I was probably just too young to realise it, but certainly saw a lot of them when I moved to Townsville, and they did some exercises there with the F5s, but mainly the, actually no, they were only the A4s back in those days. The F5s I got familiar with at Exmouth in the Air Force back in '92, which I'll delve into a little bit later. Now what I do remember is that the Air Force Base back in those days was full of these things. I think I only saw about 4 or 5 of them at any given time, but they were always on the field when I walked down there to have a look. Don't recall seeing many of them flying, but every time I walked down the airfield I was always disappointed that these were all I would see, mostly sitting on the ground. As I said, the Hawker Hunters, saw them during the air shows and stuff, but these ones here, only ones I ever saw on the ground. Now the SF211 here, sort of probably pretty much post-dated my Air Force days. I haven't actually seen one of these in Australia yet. I may well have one of the air shows overseas that I've visited in the past, but certainly this is the first one I've seen in Singaporean colours, and the first one I've seen in, if ever, ever. Again, I'm pretty sure I may have seen one somewhere overseas, but off the top of my head it's just not coming to me. I think there's a Rapiers, not quite sure. Not really a missile man, but thought I would just pop it on here for those of you that are interested. Yeah. Now the E2C Hawkeye I came into contact with in Exmouth in 1992 on Exercise Western Reward, whereas I was a base photographer. Well, I was a assigned photographer from RAF Base Richmond to attend to look after the Singaporean needs and our needs. And I got to know the Singaporean guys quite well, even though they never let me look inside this aircraft for obvious reasons. They were quite happy for me to, obviously under supervision, photograph anything around it, so I got to do some close-up work of it back in the day. Lovely little aeroplane. Surprised when they retired it. I just realised at that time that I was getting a little bit old in the tooth, and it's life. But here we are now. Don't know if it's the same one that I saw back in those days. I'll check that out later. But yes, wish I had the photos to post on here. But anyway, the E2C. So the sun's come out a bit now, so I'll just take a bit of general overview here of 5 of the main exhibit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, can't see the squirrel on the ground, but the Hawker Hunter. It's just a beautiful aeroplane. Well, Skyhawk too. Guess there's an argument for that, but yeah, I think the Hunter does it for me. But you can put in the comments what you think of my view. Guess it's basically not what an airplane would want to see. But anyway, for you military buffs that like the armament stuff and the heavy metal and that, that's for you. Just chucking in another angle here of the E2C because A, I'm standing in the shade doing it, and B, someone might like that. Now some of you are probably well and truly aware of this TA4SU tandem seat variant, unique to the Singaporean Air Force. You'll see that the back seat canopy is actually raised, whereas in the normal variant they were just normally behind each other. So something different to show. I have so many great stories about these F5s when I was at Exmouth. Let's just say I actually had one flying lower than where I was. I was at the bombing range at the safety hut. I was only about halfway up the stairs 2 days in a row. These things flew down past me. I was, as I said, only halfway up the stairs, and these things flew past lower than me. I was actually looking down into the cockpits. I had a Hasselblad camera with me at the time. Wasn't ready for it on the first day. Thought, you know, lots of curse and that. Went back the second day, and the bastard snuck up from behind. I didn't see him coming, so when I turned, took the photo, hadn't quite got the focus right, and still cursing about that to this day. Sorry about the music blaring in the background, but another thing, when I was actually photographing these F5s at the Exmouth bombing range, they were dropping 500-pound bombs these days, and I was going to do an absolute video dedicated just to this story later on with the F5, because there's just so much to talk about. But I was really annoyed when I got to the bombing range hut. We were about 3 kilometres away from the bombing area, and I was really annoyed that the safety officer at the time wouldn't let me outside to take photos. The glass through the hut was scratched, and it wasn't very good photos. But I realised after the first detonation why it was not such a good idea. The first thing is that we saw the flash of the explosion. They went 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, and here it comes. And at that stage, this shockwave, bear in mind I'm still in this building behind this glass, this shockwave just went straight through me, and then all these pellets of rock started hitting me the glass, and yep, I was glad I was not outside with that. And one last story is, it was a quick one. Got to photograph this doing one of those arrestor landings also at Exmouth. When we were there, we were testing that, make sure for safety reasons it worked, so they tested it once. We were also operating there with RAF F-18 Hornets at that stage, but they were too heavy, they couldn't take the wire, so they just didn't do them. Not that they ever needed them anyway, because the runway was so long and they could almost stop on a dime. But I think I have photos somewhere, certainly not hard copy photos, but I might have some negatives where I've got them taking the trap, but you won't see that until I go through the material back at home, and I may never find it. Just another view showing the tandem setup of the TA4S Skyhawk. It's just so unique, it's just beautiful. I never recall ever seeing these fly myself. I saw one at the RAF Richmond Air Show back in the 80s, but that's it. Now, sorry about that noise that's going on in the background there. Now it's either one of the F-27s or the C-130s that have been doing touch and goes here this morning. But here's the back Strikemaster. This I can remember this when I was back living in Changi as a little kid back in 1972, 73. Used to watch these from my school, believe it or not. They would actually fly around circle, do their landing, so pretty much all day these things would be turning and turning and turning, along with the short Skymaster that I had back there, which funnily enough I just realised they don't have an example of this here at the this museum. Okay, I guess you can't win them all, but yeah, these were mostly on sold, picked up a lot by Australians, and we see quite a lot of them fly now around in Australia. Did get offered a flight in one once. Was looking forward to it, but sadly, tragically, that never panned out, and pretty much from that point on I really didn't want to go flying one of these anymore. But they're just a beautiful aeroplane. Memories go back a long time on this one. Another view of the Hawker Hunter. This one's static on the ground, which we've already spoken enough about this. I do remember back at the time, as I said, flying around Changi when I went down for the air shows and stuff. I'm really not 100% sure if they were Singaporean ones or RAF ones back then, but they're a beautiful aircraft. They are very sleek and stylish. I just I'd love to have one of these in my backyard. Alright, the T-33, obviously I never saw any of those because they weren't introduced into the Royal Singaporean Air Force till 1980, and I'd well and truly left Singapore by that stage. 1980 I was living in Townsville, which would have been where I was seeing the Hawker Hunters operating on exercise from time to time, with no T-33s unfortunately. It's a shame, but I've managed to see a few of these flying in America and England over the years, so I'm happy enough for that. Another of the Skyhawks here at the moment. There's actually 3.5 of them here on display. This one here's got the old Singaporean Air Force markings, white colours. Greg, you're probably going to like this one. I can't bring one back for you, mate. You'll have to do with the ones that you've got down there an hour. Sorry about that, mate. So this is only a B model Iroquois. So they weren't flying when I was in the Air Force. They only had to do with H's where I was when I was at Fairburn. But tiny, little shorter, compact version. Only the one sliding door there. And the Alouette 3 helicopter. Never saw any of these while I was here, but got to see one now. Now I'm going to have to start wrapping this video up, unfortunately. I was planning to spend a lot longer doing this stuff. I did come on a Monday. The actual museum is actually closed, so I can't go in and look at the displays and that upstairs. And that I got permission initially to walk around and have a bit of a squiz from one of the guys at the opening centre when I got here. There were a few other people here walking around taking photos, but I've just been approached by one of the guys here reminding me that they're not open today. So I explained to him I was just doing this video and stuff, and he was quite okay with that, but I think he was a little bit, well, just telling me that I shouldn't be here, but he was okay with it. So they're very friendly people. And here's another, there's a half of the TA4S Skyhawk that I was telling you about before. Just the mock-up of the cockpit area, which you can get up and have a look at, but I got up there and can't see through it. I guess if the machine was open, those would be open so you could get photos in it. And there in the background there is the other TA4S that I've just already recently covered. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed this. That's pretty much all I can spend time here today. I don't want to overstay my visit. They were gracious enough to let me come in to do it. Hope you enjoyed it, some of the stories. I love telling them, and I'm going to do bigger videos on the individual aircraft at some stage, so check this channel, save it, you'll get the updates. You probably get a lot of crap stuff beforehand because I can't do anything until I get back into Australia, so I'm just uploading pretty much garbage at the moment, but I'll do some proper editing later on and expand on a lot of these stories. Anyway, for now, catch you later.